If you feel tired all the time, if your workouts feel harder than they should, you're doing all of the things but you're not seeing any weight loss, if you crash in the afternoon or wake up starving at night, you might think you need to cut out carbohydrates from your diet. But what if the problem isn't carbs? It's how your body is handling them. Today, we're talking about carbs, blood sugar, and how this impacts your energy, hormones, and why removing carbs often makes busy moms feel worse long-term and not better. Enjoy today's episode. Feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or like you've lost yourself in the postpartum chaos? Whether you're 4 weeks postpartum, 2 years in, or done having babies, you deserve to feel like yourself again. Hey mama, I'm Val, a functional sports dietitian, postpartum fitness coach, and a mama who understands exactly what you're going through. Welcome to the Strong Nourished Momma Podcast, where you'll find simple, science-backed strategies to heal your core, rebuild strength, and restore your energy without the overwhelm. If you're ready to go from depleted to strong, nourished, and unstoppable, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hi, my name is Liz Russo, and I am a mother of two, and I decided to sign up for Val's Strong Nourished and Energized Mom Method program for my second pregnancy when I was about 4 months pregnant. I have a son who is 3 years old, and my daughter is now 1. And a little bit of background information. Prior to having my son, I worked out regularly. While I was pregnant, I worked out regularly. And then when I had my son, after I had my son, I was like, what happened to me and my body? I felt like a bowl of mush. I did not feel strong. I wanted to get back into the gym. I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Things weren't working. I just was so frustrated. So Val helped me a lot through that journey, growing and healing. And so by the time my second pregnancy came around, I decided, I'm going to sign up for her program. And I'm so glad I did. It offered me so much information that I did not even know about at all. Pelvic floor, like what is that? Did not even talk about that until after I had my first baby. And so activating my core, what exercises are safe for me to do postpartum, progressions for that. Val offered modules, videos, all kinds of stuff. And it was so wonderful to have all this information at my fingertips. And then also checking in with other moms every week for 30 minutes was great. I mean, it's nice to know that there's other moms out there who are trying to figure out these waters as well. So you're not alone. I think that the best thing that I took from this program was a lot of the breathing techniques and then the core activation. I take that now into my workout. I'm a year postpartum now. A lot of that stuff also helped me through the rest of my pregnancy with my daughter and my birth with my daughter. So I just felt more in tune with my body. I knew what was happening. I knew how to engage and not engage certain parts of my body. And so it was super beneficial for me. And I know it can be beneficial for any of you out there, whether you are 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years postpartum or you're pregnant. I think it's helpful. And Val has a lot of valuable information that she's able to offer. So I would say definitely sign up.
That was Liz, a mom who went through my Strong Nourished and Energized Mom Method, and what she experienced is exactly why I do this work. Enrollment is currently open for the program, my 8-week group coaching experience where you are going to rebuild strength, support your core and pelvic floor for the long term, fix your fueling, and support motherhood, and help you create habits that actually work in mom life. What we focus on in the program is eating enough without dieting and without actually worrying about what you're eating, improving your overall energy, which is so important as a mom, rebuilding strength safely, and supporting hormones without any guesswork. You can head to wellnessbyval.com/program to learn more and save your spot. All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about one of the most feared foods in motherhood. One of the most feared foods, carbohydrates. Carbs. I would think the other one would probably be fats for most people. And I can't tell you how many conversations I have that start out like this. I'm trying to lose weight, so I cut carbs. I'm not eating any more fruit. I stopped eating rice. I don't eat potatoes. I can't even look at them. I only eat protein and veggies now, mostly just animal protein. I feel better without carbs, but I also feel exhausted, and I no longer have gas and bloating. And here's the missing context. Most active, busy moms are not eating too many carbohydrates. They're eating poorly supported carbs or not eating enough overall. And those are very different things. So I really want to dive into this today because I don't want you to fear any food, and I especially don't want you to fear carbohydrates. And I see this constantly. So I want you to imagine, maybe it's yourself, maybe it's a friend, but a mom who I typically work with, right? A mom says she is working, she's lifting, she's exercising, she's walking, she's taking care of the kids, she is sleep deprived, and she wants fat loss. She wants to lose fat, she wants to maintain her muscle. So she removes carbs from her plate. So she prepares dinner, lunches, breakfast for the whole family. Everyone has a carbohydrate except her. No rice, no potatoes, no bread, no fruit, no oats, nothing. And for about 5 days, a week, she feels great. She feels amazing. Less bloating, less hunger swings. The scale may drop, and she thinks carbs were the problem. That's it. I just can never eat carbs. But then energy crashes, workouts stall, cravings explode. So you have this food noise, and your brain is constantly telling you, I need carbs. You're telling it, no, you can't have carbs. You can't have any carbohydrates, especially the sugary, sweet treat carbohydrates. So cravings explode even more. Night eating starts because you're hungry. Your mood drops. You're irritable. You're less patient. You're waking up starving in the middle of the night. And this is because carbs weren't the issue. They never were. Blood sugar stability was. And more than likely, not eating enough, which again, that's something I see so much in the moms that I work with. Now, carbohydrates are fuel. Your brain prefers glucose. Yes, it can run off ketones if you go follow a ketogenic diet. For most women, especially active women, that's probably not going to be sustainable or realistic or fun, to be honest. Like, come on. Your muscles use glycogen. Glycogen is stored carbohydrate. So when you eat carbohydrate, your body breaks it down into glucose, and it's either going to use it right away, it's going to store it in the muscle, or it's going to store it in the liver. And if we're getting too much of anything, it's going to be converted to fat and stored as fat. Now, after it's converted to glucose, it's going to be converted into glycogen, and that's where it's stored. So that's stored carbohydrate in the muscle and in the liver. Your hormones respond to energy availability as well. So when carbs disappear, especially depending on where you're at in your cycle, which we just talked about a couple weeks ago, your body's going to start to compensate. It's a time where you actually become stressed, physically stressed and mentally, because you're telling yourself, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. But then physically, your cortisol rises, recovery drops. You're not able to lift the weight that you were, or you're not able to run as fast as you were. Sleep is going to worsen. Cravings are going to increase. That food noise is going to scream at you. And then you feel like you failed. But your physiology didn't fail. It just adapted to what it's getting or what it's not getting. So the real problem here, it's not that carbohydrates are bad and that you shouldn't eat them. The real problem is unbalanced carbohydrates. Carbs alone, refined carbs only, irregular eating. You're eating nothing, then you're starving, and then you're eating whatever your toddler has. Under eating earlier and then overeating later, that's going to cause this disruption and those feelings. Even if you feel good for a week and then you start to get these symptoms. So maybe you have toast for breakfast, and then you crash. Snack, you skip it. You're starving, you're relying on caffeine, and then at dinner, you are snacking while you're making dinner, and then you have something after dinner, and then you feel like you failed and that you have no willpower. And it's not a willpower problem at all. It's a blood sugar pattern problem, and something that your body is trying to handle very, very closely. So what we really need to focus on is we need to focus on building a balanced plate, and we need to make eating a priority. So instead of removing carbs, let's build structure. So when we work together in my group coaching program or one-on-one, we really dive into what is your routine? What is your lifestyle like? What's going on? What are your goals? Walk me through your day, and then let me help you actually create these balanced meals and snacks that make sense for you. I'm not going to have you eat chicken, broccoli, rice every single day. I'm not going to tell you that you cannot have pizza or a burger. And I think that's important because individuality is important, sustainability is important, and also food is delicious. I don't want you to think that you have to restrict certain foods. So when we work together, and week 2 in the program is all focused on this, we want to make sure that we build structure. Every meal is going to have a protein. It's going to have a little bit of fat. We're going to try and get as much fiber in there as we can, and we're going to have a carbohydrate. So for example, for breakfast, maybe it's oatmeal. Maybe it's oatmeal that you make. Maybe it's oatmeal bake. Maybe it's overnight oats. That's what I've been doing. And it kind of just depends on the recipe that you're following. Some people add eggs to it, especially if you're baking it. Others may have eggs on the side. I add protein powder, whey protein powder, to my overnight oats. I also add collagen, but here's the thing about collagen. This is like a totally different episode, but I want to make sure that you understand this because I hear it a lot. Collagen is great, especially if you have the right collagen. Okay. So don't just go out and buy any willy-nilly collagen. You want to make sure you have the right one. And that's something that we talk about in the program in one-on-one coaching as well, because that matters. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money. Now, I add collagen in there. It's great for bones, skin, ligaments, joints, everything, but it's not going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis because it doesn't have enough leucine. It barely has any leucine. Leucine is a branched chain amino acid, and we need about 2 to 3 grams of it to be able to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. You're going to get that easily in the correct dose or a serving of animal foods, and then of course in your whey protein powder. So that's why I add protein powder, whey protein powder to my overnight oats, and I'm not just relying on collagen. So if you add collagen to your coffee, awesome, that's great, but that's not stimulating muscle protein synthesis. So just a side note, just so you know. So maybe it's oatmeal, maybe you add nut butter or Greek yogurt to it. Maybe for lunch, you have chicken and it's also with a salad. What could we pair with that with our carbohydrates? Rice, to be able to balance everything. If you're having fruit, so instead of just having fruit for a snack, maybe you add Greek yogurt on the side. Maybe you have a beef stick or some pistachios. And it also depends on the timing of your exercise. So if you are about to go for a 60-minute workout, group fitness class, or a run or something like that, and you need something to eat, I'm not going to ask you to have a piece of fruit, a beef stick, and Greek yogurt, because that's not going to be fun to digest. The closer we are to our workout, we want easily digestible carbohydrates. So you would just have your fruit alone, a fruit that works for you. It really depends on your digestion. And again, it's super individualized. So now we can really look at carbohydrates and make them work for you instead of against you. How can we balance everything in your way of eating? So we have to make sure that we build structure and that we focus on this balanced plate. If carbs feel bad, I want you to listen to your symptoms. So common signs: shaky, dizzy, hangry, afternoon crash, night waking, brain fog, headaches, caffeine dependence. These are regulation signals. It's not a food intolerance. It's a way that your body's trying to communicate with you. And now, of course, it could be sleep. It could be so many other factors, but let's look at our nutrition. Oh yeah, I only had toast, or I only had like this quick carb, and that's what I've been relying on all day, plus caffeine. Of course, blood sugar is going to drop and you're not going to feel good. And then that's going to have you try to reach for something else plus more to be able to get that signal back up. So what we can do, and actually before we dive into testing, because I think that's important too, which a lot of the times when I'm talking with my clients and I hear these symptoms, I can tell you, hey, it's a blood sugar problem. Let's fix X, Y, and Z. I actually had a client I was working with a few weeks ago, and that's exactly what it was. We actually met a few weeks ago for our follow-up. And they were like, oh my gosh, I implemented everything that you said. My workouts are better. My energy is better. I haven't felt this good in years. And that was actually really exciting and really fun. But we can, of course, test too when appropriate. Now, when you cut carbohydrates, and if your bloating goes away, if your digestive issues go away, that's a red flag to me, meaning we need to work on digestion and support motility. Because if you remove carbohydrates, especially your plant foods, like your legumes, your whole grains, your fruit, your non-starchy vegetables, those foods have multiple different types of carbohydrates and fiber. And when you remove those and your symptoms go away, that's telling me there's some sloppy digestion going on. weak digestion that we really need to support. Those foods are not bad. They're very important. We want to incorporate them. They are in that balanced plate structure that I just explained. So when you remove carbohydrates and all of a sudden your gut issues go away, red flag, come work with me, come talk to me, because I want to make sure that we can optimize digestion, and we can do that without having you spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on tests. If we need a test down the line, of course, we have that option. But just please understand that. Now, when it comes to testing for blood sugar, I think everyone should do this at least once a year. This is a really good, and they're very cheap tests. So if you have a primary care physician, you can easily get these tests from them. If not, this is something that I can order for my clients as well. So fasting glucose, which is going to be part of a CMP, which is a comprehensive metabolic panel. So there's going to be a lot of other labs included in that. You want it to be fasting. If when you're getting your blood drawn, you are getting a glucose and an insulin, you want it to be fasting. Okay, so that's telling you where you are right then and there. A fasting insulin is an anabolic hormone. Insulin is going to get glucose into the cell. And so when we are looking at blood sugar regulation and carbohydrates and, of course, insulin resistance, we want to make sure that we're getting a fasting insulin. Hemoglobin A1C. Hemoglobin A1C is looking at your glucose over the last 3 months, how well you're metabolizing it, okay? This comes as a percentage, and what happens is the longer or the more glucose you have in the bloodstream, it's going to attach to the hemoglobin on the red blood cell, and that's how we get that measurement. And then, of course, what you may have seen more of is a CGM, continuous glucose monitor. I was just wearing one last October. It was a lot of fun. That was the second time I've worn one, and it gives you a lot of information into your individuality when it comes to blood sugar, because you can look at someone's glucose. Let's say you have two moms. They have the same glucose. They have the same hemoglobin A1C, and then you put a continuous glucose monitor on them. Their variability is going to be extremely different, and that matters. Okay, so we want to see how long we've been in range. And so this is something we can always talk about. There's a lot of options that insurance can pay for, or a lot of cheaper ones on the market as well. So we're not diagnosing disease. And a lot of people think like, oh, blood sugars don't matter unless I have diabetes or I have a family history of diabetes. That's not the case. Blood sugar matters for every single person, especially for you, mama. So we really want to make sure that we're understanding what's going on with you. But we can do a lot without testing, but these tests are very basic and something that you could do yearly with your physician. So the goal isn't to remove carbohydrates. The goal is metabolic flexibility. You want your body to be able to handle and utilize them well when you are giving them, when you're giving your body carbohydrates. So we don't want to avoid it, because avoidance is not healing. It's actually restricting. So we want to make sure that we support your body, your lifestyle, and what's going on. So what I want you to start with is I want you to make sure that you're eating regularly. I want you to make sure that your carbohydrates are paired with protein, fiber, and fat so that you can actually stabilize that blood sugar. I want you to make sure that you're fueling your workouts appropriately and don't save all your calories for nighttime. Okay, we have to evenly distribute, and then we can evaluate. So this is something that we talk about one-on-one in the group coaching program. We dive into it way more in depth in week 2, and then of course all throughout the program. So be sure to go to wellnessbyval.com/program to get more information and also to enroll, because enrollment is open right now. If you want help figuring out what your body actually needs, so we're really talking individuality, that's exactly what we're going to be doing in the Strong Nourished and Energized Mom Method program. So throughout the 8 weeks, which you get 12 weeks access to this program, you're going to learn how to fuel for energy and for fat loss, how to structure your meals, especially as a busy mom. Hello, that's our life, and how to stop this crash crave cycle. So go to wellnessbyval.com/program to apply. And if this episode helped you, please share it with another mom and leave a review. That's how more moms find the show. All right, mama, stay strong, stay nourished, and I'll see you next week. Hey mama, I hope you loved today's episode. If you got something out of it or simply enjoyed listening, would you please take 30 seconds to share it with another mom who could use the support? And if you haven't yet, I would be so grateful if you could leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in. It truly means the world to me, and it helps the show reach more amazing moms like you. All right, time to go chase my toddler around. Stay strong and nourished, and I'll be back on Monday with another episode. Talk soon.